My dear viewers, hello and welcome to a new edition of our program Africa Today. My name is Ahmed and we start with our local news. Well, the holy month of Ramadan has just begun, and over 500 million African Muslims are marking the month. More in the following report.
Ramadan refers to the 9th month in the Muslim calendar. Every Muslim is expected to fast during the day for the entire lunar month. Muslims all over the world abstain from food, drink and other physical needs during the daylight hours. As a time to purify the soul, refocus attention on God and practice self-sacrifice, Ramadan is much more than just not eating and drinking. Fasting during Ramadan is strictly adhered to in countries where there is a large Islamic population in Africa. Throughout North Africa, the vast majority of the population will fast. This includes Morocco, Western Sahara, Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt and Libya. In East and West Africa, the predominantly Islamic countries include Djibouti, Sudan, Gambia, Guinea, Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Senegal and Somalia. Zanzibar or Tanzania and Kenya's coastal towns Mombasa, Malindi, Lamu also have large Islamic populations. Muslims account for over half the population in as many as 28 African countries, including Nigeria and Ethiopia. Non-Muslim tourists are not expected to fast even if the country they are visiting are predominantly Islamic. But life in many Islamic countries changes quite significantly during Ramadan. Muslims are tolerant of tourists snacking and drinking during Ramadan. During Ramadan, tourist sites like museums are all open, although they will often close earlier than usual to allow staff to get home and eat in time to break the fast. Public holidays to celebrate the end of Ramadan or Eid al-Fitr can close businesses and government offices for up to 3 days.
Well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have with us over the phone our dear guest, Dr. Ahmed Farrag, journalist. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Well, how do religious occasions like Ramadan bring communities closer?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it again, please?
How does the occasions like Ramadan, a month, bring communities closer to each other?
Oh, yeah. As you know, Ramadan is one of the most important months for Muslims because there are lots of religious and non-religious activities done during this month. So, for example, some family visits and doing the prayers in the mosques, and sometimes, for example, there are certain gatherings after doing the prayers, and some people would prefer to, for example, to go to certain events in Grand Mosque like Al-Azhar and Al-Hussein and etc.
Yes, Dr. Farrag, also how different is marking Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan in North Africa from states further south?
There are lots of activities related to the month of Ramadan in the I'm talking about the Muslim countries actually. For example, they are keen to listen to the religious lessons and reciting the Holy Quran in the mosque and so on.
Yes, so how do the Muslim communities share their joy with others in Africa?
Actually, they do lots of activities like like the other Muslims in other countries. The gatherings, the visits, and the forums, and so on.
Yes, Dr. Farrag, how do you weigh the role of Al-Azhar in bringing the African Muslim countries closer? And actually, Al-Azhar in Egypt started from the first day of Ramadan, making in the mosque of Al-Azhar, making the iftar of Ramadan, the banquets. How did you see this?
As you know, ma'am, the Al-Azhar establishment puts education in Africa on its top priorities to support African countries and spread the moderate teachings of Islam. And Al-Azhar in this context offers scholarships to many African countries, including Tanzania, Senegal, and also it sends envoys to them and train the African scholars and preachers at Al-Azhar Training Academy. And actually there are other activities like sending convoys to the African countries during the month of Ramadan.
Yes, how does studying in Egypt influence the ties with African countries? The students from African Muslim countries who study in Al-Azhar, for example.
Al-Azhar pays lots of attention to education in African countries by receiving thousands of the African students at Al-Azhar University. I'm not talking actually about the religious faculties. I'm talking also about the faculties, the other faculties like the faculties of medicine, engineering, pharmacy, and etc. And Al-Azhar, we have here in Egypt Madinat al-Ba'uth al-Islamiyya, which receives thousands of students.
Yes, this is the series of research in Egypt that is related to Al-Azhar, isn't it?
Yes, of course, and even the African students look at Al-Azhar institution as a moderate institution and the representative of the Sunni world. So they are keen to receive their degrees here in Egypt and get back to their countries to spread the moderate teachings of Islam in their countries.
Yes. Dr. Farrag, what are the examples of the Ramadan traditions that have lived in Egypt throughout history?
For example, lightening the streets and decorating some places, and the family gatherings and so on.
Yes, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information, Dr. Ahmed Farrag, journalist. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break and I'm going to be back with you. Well, Cairo and Asmara have reiterated the rejection of non-littoral nations' involvement in Red Sea security and governance. This came during a visit by Foreign Minister Badr Abdul Ati to the Eritrean capital during the weekend. Details follow.
Cairo and Asmara reiterated the rejection of any involvement by non-littoral Red Sea nations in the area's security and governance. This came during Badr Abdelati's visit to Eritrea. According to a statement by the Egyptian Foreign Ministry on Saturday, Abdelati and Eritrean President Asiasi Afwerki made the remarks following a discussion between the two sides on the latest developments in the region. The statement read that Abdelati visited Eritrea on Friday to discuss ways to activate the tripartite coordination mechanism between Egypt, Eritrea and Somalia. Formed after a conference that brought together the three sides in the Eritrean capital Asmara on the 10th of October 2024, the Tripartite Ministerial Committee held its first meeting in Cairo on January. Following that meeting, Abdelati emphasized in a joint press conference with Eritrean and Somalian counterparts that no military or naval presence of any non-littoral state in the Red Sea would be accepted. Cairo and Asmara have repeatedly rejected all foreign interference in Somalian affairs and declared their support for the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. In recent months, tensions have increased in the Horn of Africa after Somaliland, a breakaway entity from Somalia not recognized by any country, agreed to lease 20 kilometers of its coast for 50 years to landlocked Ethiopia to build a naval base in return for diplomatic recognition. In January, Turkey mediated a peace deal between Somalia and Ethiopia that included restoring full diplomatic relations between the two countries. Following their rapprochement, Ethiopia's deal with Somaliland remains uncertain. During Friday's meeting, Abdelati and Afwerki discussed preparations for the Tripartite Ministerial Committee's second meeting, which will be held in the Eritrean capital. They exchanged views on regional issues of mutual concern and ways to support peace and security in the Horn of Africa.
Well, Zambia is an African landlocked country at the crossroads of Central, Southern and East Africa. More in the following.
Zambia, officially the Republic of Zambia, is a landlocked country at the crossroads of Central, Southern and East Africa. It is typically referred to being in South Central Africa or Southern Africa. It is bordered to the north by the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Tanzania to the northeast, Malawi to the east, Mozambique to the southeast, Zimbabwe and Botswana to the south, Namibia to the southwest, and Angola to the west. The capital city of Zambia is Lusaka, located in the south-central part of Zambia. The population is concentrated mainly around Lusaka in the south and the Copper Belt province to the north, the core economic hubs of the country. Following European colonizers in the 18th century, the British colonized the region into the British protectorates of Barotse Land, northwestern Rhodesia and northeastern Rhodesia towards the end of the 19th century. These were merged in 1911 to form northern Rhodesia. For most of the colonial period, Zambia was governed by an administration appointed from London with the advice of the British South Africa Company. On the 24th of October 1964, Zambia became independent of the United Kingdom and Prime Minister Kenneth Kaunda became the inaugural president. Kaunda's Socialist United National Independence Party UNIP maintained power from 1964 until 1991, with him playing a key role in regional diplomacy, cooperating closely with the United States in search of solutions to conflicts in southern Rhodesia.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, with this we come to the end of our program Africa Today. My name is Aman Mukhtar. Thank you for watching.